Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of The Small Business Show right here at ASBN.com. Do you have a product that could serve multiple industries or has a variety of uses, but you're really unsure about how to sell it? My guest today is here to help you figure that out. Mr. George Deeb is the managing partner at Red Rocket Ventures, a Forbes contributor and author of an amazing book. So he's here to, with some of the tips that can help you scale and grow your business. And so once again, George, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join us on the show. Very much appreciate it. So let's talk about the product market fit. What is it and how is it used?
Yeah, this is a discussion that many venture capitalists really love to drill in on. It's the point a startup has tested and identified the most scalable target industries, potential buyers, potential use cases, potential personas, different price points for your business so that you get the business to the point it can scale. And many startups don't fully appreciate, how hard it is to get to that right product market fit. They think they got it all figured out of the gate. But until you've actually kicked the tires and tested it with some customers, you don't really know what you have.
That's right. No question about it. What are the phases of identifying product market fit?
Yeah, there's a handful of them here. The first thing is you just got the basic understanding of your market landscape and the key pain points that you're trying to solve. That's the first thing. The second thing is you may have multiple industries or multiple verticals that you might be able to tackle with your product or service, knowing which those options are so you can try to focus on the best one. The third thing would be, making sure you've got a good product in the market to validate the hypotheses that you made. It has to be out there, kicking the tires and sharpening the pitch over time. And making sure you're closing customers and learning what your conversion funnel metrics are so that you can optimize your sales processes, make sure it's repeatable, make sure it's scalable. Do you have the right hiring, the right training, the right processes in place to then validate that, we can now hit the accelerator with our marketing spend and have success in taking our business to the next level.
Yeah, and also to really study the competition of what's, who else is selling that product or service in that space. I mean, and to become a real student of that. So you might think you've got a great product on your hand, right? But there might be a ton of other opportunities out there for your customers or your prospects, I should say. What's the right way to do your market research?
Well, to me, there's three parts to it. The first is you obviously got to talk to the customers that are the early users and early adopters of your product. Get their reaction, ask their pain points, ask what they like, ask what they don't like. Those answers to those questions become your product roadmap and the things that you're trying to fix over time. So that's the first part. The second part is making sure you talk to your salespeople. Your salespeople are the boots on the ground. They're hearing the pushback from potential customers and they know what's working and what's not working. So listen to them, they'll have some ideas. And then the third is listen to your operations fulfillment team, right? They're the ones that see all the problems. It's one thing to sell it, it's another thing to fulfill it.
Yeah.
And if your fulfillment team is hearing complaints from customers and people are unhappy or the fulfillment team is unhappy, those are some pain points that you're going to want to resolve over time as well. So those are three good uses to do your market research with.
Sure. And if you're looking for feedback it could be from friends and family that are also your customers, often that's the time. Ask for that honest, take the shine off of it. Let me know the real deal. Because oftentimes friends and family or your first round of customers go, oh my gosh, those cookies were great. Best tasting chocolate chip cookie I've ever had. And then behind the scenes, they're like, oh my God, it was the worst cookie I've ever had. And that it doesn't, you want to solicit the real review, right? Rather than don't just make me feel good about going into this cookie industry. Let me know the real deal, right?
And you got to communicate that to your friends and family.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd rather be the fly on the wall after you've left the room than actually hear the niceties of what they're saying to your face. It's that ugly stuff that we're really trying to resolve.
That's right. That's right. Is this a one and done process, or do you need to keep, iterating this?
Yeah, I mean, you're always testing and tinkering. This is, once you've gone through the cycle once, then you can go through it a second or a third time over and over as you get your your rhythm and you're improving your products over time. So you're testing everything, right? You're testing who your target audience is and who you're selling it to. You're testing your prices. You're testing your pitch. What offers are working better or worse than others? So it's never one and done. You're always looking to improve, and it's like you're dialing it up every single time and improving with each iteration.
Sure. What are the main business factors that you should think about after you find the right product for the market?
Well, I mean, after you've got the right product market fit, you've identified, what the total addressable market size is, because that's what your investors want to know. How big of a business are you actually building here, and how big of a return on their investment can the venture capitalists receive? So you will have now quantified that total addressable market size. Mm-hmm. You will learn how to build a competitive moat around your business. Right? You want to make sure you're defensible, and you've got a product where you're selling wisdom instead of selling widgets, because they will feed off of that wisdom over time, but a widget is much more competitively differentiated from. So you want to make sure you're selling something that is sticky. Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure you've really locked down your marketing economics. What's your return on ad spend? What's your cost of customer acquisition? What's your lifetime value? So you can make sure that, as you're scaling your business, not only are you scaling the top line, but you're going to be able to profitably scale the bottom line at the same time. So, at the end of the day, this is about building a painkiller, not a vitamin, and making sure you've got something that really wows the marketplace.
Sure. Are there ways to measure product market fit to see if you're being successful here?
Yeah, I think there's two parts of that. Prior to the sale, you're going to measure your sales cycle. How long does it take to convert a lead? You're going to measure your unit level economics. What's your cost, average order size? So you get a sense to kind of what people are willing to pay for that. What's your conversion rate? Are you converting at a normal conversion rate? Those are three good metrics to know prior to the sale. Mm-hmm. And the second part is, what's going on post the sale? Are people buying from you over and over again? What's your repeat sale rate? How if you're selling, let's say, software, what's your churn rate? How quickly are you losing people? Is it sticky and they're staying with you for years? Yeah. Or they're testing it for a month or two and then they're moving on to something else?
Sure.
And then the last thing is your customer usage metrics, right? How engaged are they? Are they in the tool for 30 seconds and they're in and out? Or no, they're living and breathing out of this tool. They can't live without this tool. And it's part of their everyday behavior that is taking up hours of their day, not minutes of their day. So those are some examples.
That's right. A friend of mine, fellow entrepreneur, he's just looking from afar, looking into his business, and when he started, he would take the advice of some of these people, and they'd say, what this product needs is it needs an X, Y, and Z, and it needs an A, B, and C, and he would go off in these different directions to build these other widgets and offer these other product lines, and he would get so far away from the original product because he's trying to answer every single person that said, what you should do, what you should have, and it's one of those things. Have you seen that before with entrepreneurs where somebody tells them to do something or says, what would be great for this product is if you added X, Y, and Z, and they go off in that direction rather than building the best product they can build, right?
But what you're talking about is focus, right? So an entrepreneur needs to focus. You can't be all things to all people all the time, right? You have to come up with the best use case, come up with the best target customer persona, get it laser focused and generating tons of success and traction. And then once you have the profits coming out of that first vertical, then you can start to experiment with new verticals or new case studies. And you take the profits from your first vertical, and you use them as ammunition in your second and third vertical. But if you try to do it all at once, you can't be all things to all people, and you'll most likely fail.
That's right. And just because somebody said, boy, if you made those extra products, man, I would certainly buy those. I would buy a ton of them. That usually never pans out. So don't be fooled by that to say, wow, I can be a provider of this. And that prospect said, or that customer said, if you added this to it, man, I'd buy the heck out of these. That usually is not the case. They usually don't buy the heck out of them. So don't go off and half-cocked and say, oh, here's what else. Here are the other lines that we need to offer. And to your point, we haven't even focused on getting this one right.
Well, it may be part of your 5 or 10-year growth plan,
Right.
but it's not part of your 5 or 10-week execution plan.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
take those notes, learn from those notes, but you don't execute against those notes. You've got your set plan for the next couple of years. Stay firmly focused on it, and only pivot if it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, no question about it. Great advice today. George Deeb, Managing Partner at Red Rocket Ventures. Thank you so much for your insight today. Really, it was, I know, very helpful to so many entrepreneurs that are out there that count on what you have to say each time you're on. So thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate it, Jim.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.